that was not true, accusing us of all sorts of unseemly things that I don't even like to bring up. But it's all a part of the public record. It's all been put to bed, or I couldn't stand here right now. But you know, when you run for public office, it's really a 50-50 proposition. I mean, either you win or you lose, although one of my dear friends came up with the greatest euphemism. He called it finishing second, which I kind of, anyway. It's happened to a lot of people, including my opponent in this election, and it's happened to him on a nationwide scale, and he should be prepared for what's coming on August 24th as well. But when I look back in history, there have been times, and since our British cousin is here, for the Observer, we can look back to our cousin Winston Churchill. In the wake of World War II, in what was called by Churchill our finest hour, there Churchill was at Potsdam with Truman and Stalin trying to formulate the post-war world. And he had to return home because the fusion government that had helped administer the laws in Great Britain during the war, with Clement Attlee and others, obviously it was time to get back to expressing differences. And so Churchill took his leave of Potsdam and returned home for the election, and Mr. Attlee and his party turned out Mr. Churchill and the conservatives in decisive fashion. Well, why? The people were war-weary. And even in the midst of victory, they wanted something new. So instead of returning to Potsdam, Churchill went to lunch with his beloved Clementine. And she said to him something like, "Winston, you must come to view this as a blessing in disguise." And he responded, "Clemmy, if this is a blessing, it is most certainly well disguised." But so we went through the same thing. It was tough to lose an election. It was tougher still to have honesty and integrity called into question. More than any type of psychological cost, there was a very real financial cost, as we had to take 12 years of documents and put them with a D.C. law firm to say, okay, what do you guys want to see? I didn't do anything. Legal bills in excess of $500,000. But we stood up to say, hey, look, we always, as I said in that prayer, cling to that observation in John. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. In fact, we set up a nonprofit, a trust, to help us with those legal bills, and we named it Freedom in Truth, based on that piece of scripture, and also admittedly, and a little less spiritually, because the acronym FIT we thought was appropriate, because the whole thing had given us fits. But coming back home was a blessing. Nicole, our grown-up, was doing great with her career, and we were home to be here for that. And Hannah was graduating from high school, and John Micah was transitioning from middle school to high school. And every day, we got to have a town hall like this for 3 hours, Monday through Friday on KFYI, where you told me what I did right and what I did wrong and what I should reconsider. And so that's prepared us to go back. So it has been a blessing. And as I said at the conclusion of those broadcasts, the greatest thing was being able to go, "Sweet Mary, I'm coming home," to be there, to have dinner, to be with my family. And you see, being back as a citizen better prepares you for service, because there is a tendency. Okay, the second part. Yes, I'm sorry.
The second part is when you do go back to the Senate or
yeah.
whatever.
We'll have the second one.
What will you, when it's Christmas time and available, how are you going to ensure that you're going to stay there for the vote and speak for us, American people here in Mesa or here in Arizona?
Very good second part of the question. Well, here's the synergy. Yeah. Well, again, here's where, dare we say, cynicism meets opportunity. Because as you've gotten involved in the political process, it's a two-way street. You see, you're going to hold me accountable. And if you don't like what I do, and this is what's very interesting about living in Arizona, the youngest of the 48 contiguous states, what is special in our way of doing things in Arizona is that all of us, when we turn in our petitions, and by the way, that's not some sort of ceremonial thing. You have to go out and get the signatures, 0.5% of the number of members of your party who voted in the last election. But when we're taking those petitions in, we also sign a form that says, if the people want to subject us to recall, we would gladly participate. So there are two things. If I get so out of whack, you can start a recall movement to call me home before the 6-year term is complete, or then at the end of the 6-year term, you've got the ultimate term limit, voting for the other guy and throwing me out of office. So that's what you'll have to evaluate. Now let me also say this, because we're free people, surprise, surprise, we're not going to agree on every single issue that comes down the pipe. I mean, I'm glad Miss Mary loves me, and goodness knows she doesn't agree with me on everything. How much more so will that be the case with all of us here? But here's the difference. It was expressed the other night by a lady in Fort Huachuca. She didn't have a policy question. She just asked, J.D., when we send you to the Senate, are we going to see you more than once every 6 years? And she had a point. And the way we stay in touch is, in addition to guys like Arlen sending those letters and emails and being vociferous, it's my pledge, and we've been talking about it, because we really have a commuter Congress now. The jet age allows us to come home. It is my goal that every citizen of Arizona who wants to avail him or herself of a statewide meeting or a chance to be face-to-face with their junior senator, I'd love for every Arizonan 4 times a year, once a quarter, to have a town hall like this within driving distance of their home. Doesn't mean everybody's going to come, but it means for those who are concerned and those who want to hold me to account and those who want to say, hey, I agreed with you on this, or I disagreed with you on this, or what on earth were you thinking about this, will have the accountability. So that's really, see, this Senate seat, and again, I don't want to malign John, I don't think he said this, but I do know for many people over time, they begin to look at the office as their office. Good, bad, or indifferent, right or wrong. I always had a sign on the door in the office I had. This office belongs to the people of whatever district I represented, and when you send me to the United States Senate, in big letters across the door of every office will be the words, this office belongs to the people of Arizona. That's the key difference. Yes, sir.
I'd like to know what they're going to do about these anchor babies. I've been told that approximately 50,000 are born each year in the United States.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service in Korea. We're glad to see the veterans here, and his question has to do with birthright citizenship. And it goes back to an important provision in my Enforcement First Act. When you go back to the 14th Amendment, and understand the 14th Amendment was put in place to grant full rights of citizenship to slaves who were freed by Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. So it was restoring rights or granting rights to those to whom rights were entitled as citizens. But, and this is what's so great about having the Constitution right here, we can read it. We can read Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, making sure that I can read my Roman numerals properly, and make sure we read it and understand it. Section 1, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, the sponsor, the father of the 14th Amendment, was Senator Jacob Howard. He made it very clear in his floor speech that the key term in Section 1 was the clause, subject to the jurisdiction thereof.